It took me over 4 months to build this 1959 Les Paul guitar. If you haven't seen any of the videos, I put a link to the playlist in the description below. You can go check it out and get yourself up to speed. Now that all the woodwork is completed, I'm ready to dust this guitar off and send it off to be painted. One last thing I gotta do before I send it off to paint. So for the paint, I brought the guitar to my buddy Martine. He and his dad run Bravos Custom Guitars. These guys do everything from complete refins to repairs. They'll spray lacquer finishes, poly finishes, pretty much any finish you want. Any color, vintage colors, color matches, distressed finishes, anything you can think of. So if you're in the LA area and you want to go check them out, I'll leave a link in the description below. I got a few shots of them prepping this guitar, getting it ready to paint. Because this is a 1959 spec guitar, of course we're going to do a sunburst. The owner chose a cherry sunburst in an aged lacquer, but not distressed. So it's not as shiny. It's not a highly buffed lacquer, but it's got a nice aged patina to it. You can see how meticulous they are with their approach to painting these guitars. They've been doing this a long time. They know exactly what they're doing, and the results show. So now that the guitar is painted and looks beautiful, I'm ready to put this all together. So the first thing I want to do is get the electronics placed, and then I'll start to do the setup as far as the placement of the bridge and the tailpiece, get the tuners installed, and then do all the final details. I got the switch installed, and I put in the pots and this whole configuration, and I've got the tuners here. These are Kluson, either knockoffs or I think they're knockoffs. He's got these Seymour Duncan Slash model. I believe these are Alnico 2s, and so these are going to go in the guitar. And so right now I'm just getting set up to do the tuners, and I ran some of the wiring. I didn't connect anything yet, and I still have to do the setup. You can see I have just the tailpiece bolts installed. So let's go ahead and get the tuners on here, and then we'll start getting the pickups and also the position of the bridge. I'll show you how I do that. So let's get rolling. Now I'm getting ready to do these tuners. I know there's a couple of schools of thought on the placement of these tuners. Sometimes people like to have them be parallel to have this be perpendicular to the neck, so they're perfectly straight, something about like that. I'm not sure if that's how I want to do these or not. Another school of thought on this is to line them up this way, which kind of lines up these little radiuses here and gets them to sit about like that with each other, which by putting a straight edge here, you get that effect. So I guess I have the option. I'm not sure exactly how the vintage ones were done, but I think I'm going to do it this way. Leave it in the comments what your thoughts are, but this is how I'm doing it on this installation. I've done them both ways. The way to do it this way, you line them up with a straight edge underneath them, and now each one is going to be perpendicular to the neck, but they line up, they kind of skew a little bit this way. I don't know, I'm rambling and I'm probably getting too anal. I'm just gonna line them up the way I normally do it, like this, and I think that'll be fine. Yeah, there's one side. Now I'll do the other. There, now both sides are done, and from the front, everything looks great. Okay, so now with both high and low E strings in place, what I did was I centered these saddles so they have some adjustment back and forth. Got the intonation set. Actually, the action's not even, set up yet. The nut's not set, nothing set. I'm just trying to get the placement of the bridge, and you don't want this to be perfectly parallel to the tailpiece. So right now it does have a bit of an offset. It's 844 between those 2 points, And on the treble side, it's about 9/11. So it's got a little bit of angle this way. You know, I'm exaggerating, but this way, which is correct. And I have room for adjustment on all the saddles. So I think this is going to be the placement of it. I just have a piece of felt underneath this bridge here so it doesn't damage the body. I'm going to file the placement exactly where this string is going to get placed, but right here is where I want to drill my posts. Now I just spotted the holes because I got to drill them different diameters for the threads, because the posts are going to be this thread here. So I want that to fit in there really nicely. And this obviously is way too big. And now to screw them in, take the two thumb wheels, lock them together real tight. It grabs onto the thread, and you use that to get these guys screwed into the right place. One thing I am going to do, I'll put a little bit of wax on these threads. Just helps it go in a little bit easier. About a 1/2 inch from the top of the thread to the top of the body seems to be a good starting point. Yeah, that fits perfect, nice and tight. Now all the electronics came off another guitar, and so this harness is pre-wired. I have to finagle it through the body because it's all put together, and so that was a little bit challenging. Okay, so now I have the pickups wired in. From the pickup, it's going to the outer lug. From the switch, it's going to the middle lug. So all these wires are feeding through the guitar, coming out here, and I have them labeled. Blue is the bridge. This is going to be my neck. That's going to be the ground wire. And then this one here is going to the jack. The way to wire this switch, you can see, if you look at the switch, you got these little terminals, and as I flip the switch, you can see it opens that one up, and only this side is connected. In the middle, they're both connected, and flipping it this way, this side here is connected. As far as the terminals, you got your this gets mounted in the guitar like this, so this side over here is going to be your ground. I'm sorry, this one is your ground. This goes out to the jack, and then these two are your two pickups. And that's pretty much wired in now. Just double check that we get a signal. Now I got the pickups wired in. Now I'm getting ready to screw down these pickup rings. I'm just splitting hairs with the spacing on these pickups. They line up good with the neck pickup, but on the bridge, they're a little bit narrow. It's taking my time getting it lined up. I'm going to start with one hole. Seems to be just about right there. Let me do the other 4, then the pickups will be mounted, and then I think I just need to finish the nut, which I started, and then I need to mount everything else, like the truss rod cover, get the strap buttons, and the pick guard. That should take care of everything. Okay, the way I'm doing this, I don't have the bridge quite set yet, so I'm going off the 1st fret. I push down on the 3rd fret here, and then I check the spacing underneath this string to make sure it's just a slight little clearance. But I'm going to leave it a little bit high for now, and then I'm going to finish the top of the nut because these strings are way too deep right now. So I'm going to finish the top of the nut, Then I'm going to set the bridge. Then I'm going to come back and fine tune this to get these perfect. On a Les Paul, you want to follow the line of the string with your file. Now, one other thing, before you check this height, you got to make sure the string is up to pitch, because if it's too low, it could be too much slack in there and it'll give you a false reading. Okay, because this is a new bridge, it does not have the little grooves. See how this bridge in the saddle, it's got the little grooves already filed in it. So this does not have those filed. So I'm going to set the outside strings to be where they need to go. And then I'm going to use a string spacing rule to get the spacing between these strings. Then I'm going to use just a pencil to mark it off. I'm going to file each one individually, one by one. Okay, that looks about right to me. So one by one, I'm going to go ahead and file the same radius in each one of these saddles, just a little bit, just to hold the string in place. So far, the intonation's been perfect. It's preset, pretty close. Okay, now, intonation set, bridge is slotted, the nut is slotted. Let me get the action set, because it feels a little low to me. Okay, the nut slots are a little deep right now, so let me take some material off the top of the nut and then get this all polished up. What I do is the lower three strings just below the thickness of the string. So the width of this slot, you want to basically make the same, a little bit lower than the width of the slot is going to be the depth. And I just do it by eye. And then these three strings, I get them really low, about the thickness of the string. So whatever the depth, whatever the width of this slot is, that's how deep I make the slot. I'll measure the radius on the top to be 12 inches, but as far as the depth, I just do it by eye. Go with a pretty coarse file at first, just to make quick work of this. You don't want to sit here for a month of Sundays filing a nut. Okay, now that seems like a good depth to me. The radius is 12 inches. So I'm going to take 3 grits of sandpaper before I polish it. I'm going to do 400, 600, 800. You can go to 1,000 or 1,200 and then polish it, but I'm going to stop at 800. That should be good enough. And I also eased the back radius back here. And with that, I will say this guitar needs strap buttons, but other than that, it's done. Let's see how it plays. if anybody out there wants their 59 Industrial Les Paul built, hit me up. I'll gladly make you one. Don't count on it being done anytime soon, though. Might take me a while.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.